Leo, a man is being guided into your life to stay. And this is not something that will happen one day in the future. This is something that is already happening now. While you are listening to these words, movement has already begun. Not movement you can see with your eyes, but movement that rearranges paths, timing, and decisions in ways that feel invisible until suddenly they are not. This is not about chance encounters. This is not about coincidence. And it is not about waiting passively for something to magically fall into your life. What is happening now is far more precise than that. There is a reason you are watching this at this exact moment. A reason this message feels heavier than others you may have heard before. And a reason your attention has not drifted away yet. Because something inside you already knows. This time feels different. For a long time, you may have carried the quiet belief that love, the kind of love that actually stays, always seemed just out of reach. Not because you lacked worth, not because you didn't try, but because something never fully aligned. People came and went. Interest appeared, then faded. Promises were made, then quietly withdrawn. And, over time, you adapted. You became stronger, more independent, less willing to reveal everything at once. You learned how to stand on your own so well that eventually you stopped expecting anyone to truly stand beside you. And yet, despite all of that strength, something never fully closed inside you. A small persistent knowing remained. A knowing that said, "This is not how my story ends. There is more than temporary connection. There is more than being admired from a distance." That knowing never left you even when you tried to silence it. And now something has shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, but unmistakably. You may have felt it as restlessness without anxiety, as emotional clarity without effort, as a strange calm where resistance used to live. This is what happens before a permanent presence enters your life. Not excitement, not obsession, but readiness. The man being guided toward you is not arriving to rescue you, complete you, or give your life meaning. You already have meaning. You are already complete. He is being guided toward you because you have reached a point where you no longer chase recognition, you embody it. And only someone capable of standing within that reality can remain. This is not about romance in the fantasy sense. It is about alignment. A kind of alignment that happens when who you are internally no longer contradicts what you are willing to accept externally. For a long time, you tolerated situations that asked you to be smaller than you truly are. Not because you believed you deserved less, but because you were tired of waiting. That phase is ending. The man who is coming is not drawn to potential. He is drawn to presence. He is not searching for someone to impress. He is searching for someone he does not have to diminish himself to stand beside. And that is why this connection does not arrive through chaos. It arrives through calm recognition. When this man enters your life, it will not feel like being swept away. It will feel like something settling into place. Your body will not tense. Your intuition will not warn you. Your strength will not need to perform. Instead, something quieter happens. You feel steady without feeling bored, seen without feeling exposed, open without feeling unprotected. And this is where many Leo women become confused, because intensity has often been mistaken for depth, and unpredictability has often been mistaken for passion. But what is arriving now is different. This is not someone who comes to disrupt your life. This is someone who fits into it without asking you to rearrange yourself. And that is why the guidance happening now is so subtle. If this were dramatic, you would resist it. If it were overwhelming, your defenses would rise. So instead, it arrives through small internal shifts. You begin to feel less interested in proving yourself, less drawn to emotionally unavailable people, less willing to explain your worth. You begin to feel finished with that chapter. This is not because you have given up on love. It is because you are no longer willing to negotiate your presence. And when that line is crossed internally, externally, life responds. Paths adjust. Conversations change. Timing rearranges itself. Not loudly, not forcefully, but effectively. Before we go deeper, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect honestly. Have you noticed a quiet shift within yourself recently, a sense that something is aligning, even if you cannot yet name it? Comment if this message resonates with you, not because you need confirmation, but because recognition strengthens awareness. And awareness is what allows what is already in motion to arrive fully. Now let's talk about why this has taken so long and why this connection could not arrive until now. Section 1. Why this has taken so long. At some point in your life, you likely stopped asking the question out loud, but it never fully left you. Why has it taken so long for something real to stay? Not attention, not attraction, not brief excitement, but a presence that remains. And here is the truth most people never hear. In life, delay is often protection wearing the mask of disappointment. Especially for Leo. You were never designed for relationships that drift without intention. You were never meant to pour your depth into connections that could not hold it. And you were never meant to shrink your presence just to keep someone comfortable. So life did not rush this chapter for you. It slowed it down. You encountered people who admired you but could not meet you. People who were drawn to your confidence but intimidated by your emotional clarity. People who enjoyed your warmth but retreated when consistency was required. Each experience taught you something even when it hurt. You learned how to stand on your own, how to regulate your emotions without external reassurance, how to keep moving forward even when someone failed to stay. This independence did not make you cold, it made you discerning. And discernment is not the absence of hope, it is wisdom that has learned to protect what matters. Here is the first life lesson Leo learns on this path. Not everyone who is attracted to you is capable of staying aligned with you. Attraction is easy. Presence is rare. Earlier in your life, you may have confused intensity with depth. You may have believed that passion meant commitment. You may have given access to people who liked the idea of you without understanding the responsibility that came with being close to you. That phase was necessary. Because without it, you would not have learned how to value peace over chemistry and stability over excitement. And here is the second life lesson. What feels intense at first often burns out. What feels steady builds. This connection could not arrive before you understood that difference. Earlier versions of you still tried to explain yourself, still hoped potential would turn into action, still believed that patience could transform inconsistency. But growth changes perspective. You no longer ask, why isn't this working? You now ask, is this aligned? And alignment does not require force. This is why the waiting mattered. You were learning how to remain open without abandoning yourself, how to be strong without being closed, how to desire connection without needing it to validate your worth. And that balance takes time. Here is the third life lesson that emerges only through experience. The right connection does not arrive when you are searching. It arrives when you are settled within yourself. Not complacent, not detached, but rooted. Rooted in who you are, what you offer, and what you will no longer accept. This is why things feel different now. You are no longer asking life to bring someone into your world. You are unconsciously filtering who is allowed to enter it. That shift changes everything. The man being guided into your life is not responding to longing. He is responding to clarity. He is not drawn to need. He is drawn to presence. And presence is something you have earned. This is also why you may feel less urgency lately. Not because love no longer matters to you, but because fear no longer controls your choices. You understand something now that you didn't before. Being alone is not the same as being misaligned. And misalignment costs more than solitude ever could. That understanding signals readiness. It tells life that you are prepared to choose connection not out of fear, habit, or pressure, but out of genuine alignment. That is when permanence becomes possible. This delay was not punishment. It was preparation. It was life teaching you how to hold your power without hardening your heart. And now that lesson is complete. Before we move forward, take a moment and reflect honestly. Have you noticed that you no longer chase connection, but you do not fear it either? Comment if this realization resonates with you, because this internal shift is not subtle. It is the foundation that allows someone real grounded and capable to finally enter your life and stay. Now let's talk about who this man truly is, not as a fantasy, but as a presence defined by action, consistency, and emotional maturity. Section 2. Who this man truly is. Now it is important to clear something away before we go any further. The man being guided into your life is not defined by dramatic gestures, overwhelming intensity, or instant declarations. If you are expecting fireworks that destabilize your world, you may overlook him at first. Because what makes this connection different is not how loudly it announces itself, it is how calmly it remains. This man does not arrive to impress you. He arrives already grounded in who he is. And that matters more than most people realize. You have met charismatic people before. You have encountered confidence before. You have felt attraction before. But attraction alone has never been enough for you, even when you tried to convince yourself that it could be. What you are aligning with now is someone whose inner structure is strong enough to hold your presence without needing to control it, compete with it, or retreat from it. This man is emotionally available, not emotionally reactive. He does not disappear when things become real. He does not pull away when closeness increases. And he does not confuse distance with independence. This is one of the most important life lessons Leo eventually learns. Emotional availability is not intensity, it is consistency. Anyone can feel strongly in the beginning. Few people can remain steady when novelty fades. The man who stays is the one who understands the connection is built through reliability, not pursuit. You will notice this in subtle but unmistakable ways. He follows through. He shows up when he says he will. He does not create confusion through mixed signals. His interest does not spike and disappear. It remains present. And that presence creates something you may not be used to feeling. Safety. Not the kind that dulls your passion, but the kind that allows it to exist without burning you. Here is another life truth that often goes unspoken. The right connection calms the nervous system before it excites the heart. This is how you will recognize him. Your body does not brace. Your intuition does not warn you. You do not feel the urge to perform, impress, or manage the connection. You feel grounded. This does not mean there is no attraction. It means attraction is not driving the connection, alignment is. And alignment feels different. You are not trying to figure him out. You are not guessing where you stand. You are not adjusting yourself to maintain interest. Instead, you feel met. He listens without trying to fix you. He asks questions because he wants to understand, not because he is gathering information to impress you later. And when you speak, he remembers. Not just the big things, but the small details that reveal who you are beneath the surface. This is not because he is trying to win you. It is because he is already invested. Here is another essential life lesson. Someone who intends to stay does not rush connection. They stabilize it. They integrate you into their life gradually, but deliberately. They introduce you to their world. They make space for you without being asked. They speak in ways that include you naturally, not performatively. And you will notice something else that may surprise you. You do not feel the need to test him. You do not feel the urge to provoke distance just to see if he returns. You do not feel compelled to withdraw to regain control, because control is no longer necessary when clarity is present. This is where many Leo women become uncomfortable at first. Not because something is wrong, but because something is unfamiliar. Chaos once felt normal. Uncertainty once felt exciting. Proving yourself once felt necessary. But you have outgrown that, and this connection reflects that growth back to you. This man does not arrive to complete your life. He arrives to join it. He respects your independence without needing to distance himself. He admires your strength without trying to dominate it. He does not fear your intensity, he understands it. That understanding creates balance, and balance does not feel dull. It feels sustainable. Here is the deeper lesson beneath all of this. Love that lasts is not built on emotional highs. It is built on emotional capacity. Capacity to listen. Capacity to stay present. Capacity to work through discomfort instead of escaping it. This man is not perfect. He carries his own history, his own wounds, his own lessons. But he possesses something that changes everything. He is capable of staying engaged when things become real. That is what sets him apart. Before we move on, I want you to pause and reflect honestly. Have you noticed that what you desire now is not intensity, but emotional reliability and presence? Comment if this resonates with you. Because recognizing this shift within yourself is how you know you are aligned with what is arriving. Now let's talk about how you will recognize this connection when it enters your life and why it will feel unmistakably different from anything you have experienced before. Section 3. How you will recognize this connection. There is a moment that arrives quietly, and if you are not paying attention, you might miss its significance. Not because it is subtle, but because it does not announce itself through intensity. You will not recognize this connection through emotional overwhelm. You will recognize it through emotional clarity. This is important because many Leo women have been conditioned to associate excitement with unpredictability and depth with struggle. But what is arriving now does not require you to fight for your place. It recognizes you immediately. And that recognition does not feel like sparks. It feels like grounding. When this man enters your life, you will notice that your body responds before your thoughts do. Your shoulders relax. Your breath deepens. Your nervous system settles. This is not indifference. It is safety. Here is a life lesson that only experience can teach. The body knows alignment before the mind can explain it. With others, you may have felt alert, watchful, slightly on edge, even when attraction was strong. With him, there is no internal bracing. You are present. And presence is something you have not always been able to access in connection. You are not rehearsing what to say. You are not calculating how much to reveal. You are not monitoring yourself to maintain interest. You simply exist, and that is enough. This is how recognition happens, not through dramatic realization, but through the absence of resistance. Another sign you will notice is that your strength does not need to be defended. You do not feel misunderstood. You do not feel minimized. You do not feel the urge to soften yourself to keep harmony. Instead, you feel accepted without explanation. And acceptance does not dilute your power. It stabilizes it. Here is another life truth that matters deeply for Leo. The right connection does not require you to be less. It allows you to be whole. You will also notice that conversation flows without effort. Not because everything is perfect, but because communication does not feel performative. You can speak honestly without fear of being too intense. You can pause without worrying about losing momentum. You can express vulnerability without feeling exposed. This is not because he is flawless. It is because he is present. And presence is what creates emotional safety. You may also notice something unfamiliar at first. You are not chasing clarity. Clarity is simply there. You do not wonder where you stand. You do not analyze messages. You do not search for hidden meanings. His actions align with his words, and alignment creates trust. Here is a lesson many people learn too late. Confusion is not chemistry. Confusion is information. And what you are aligning with now contains very little confusion. That may feel strange. You may even question whether something is missing. But nothing is missing. Chaos has simply exited the equation. Another important sign is how time behaves around this connection. You do not feel rushed. You do not feel delayed. You feel in rhythm. Things progress naturally. There is movement but no pressure. Interest but no urgency. Depth but no force. This balance is rare, and it is the result of two people who are emotionally available at the same time. You will also notice how you feel when you are not together. You do not spiral. You do not feel abandoned. You do not doubt his interest. There is continuity. He remains present even when space exists. That consistency is what allows trust to form. Here is another life lesson that becomes clear here. Security is built between moments, not during them. Anyone can be attentive when you are together. What matters is how someone holds the connection when you are apart. And this man does not disappear. He remains emotionally reachable without needing constant contact. This is how you know he is not temporary. Temporary connections require constant reassurance. Permanent ones create reassurance through behavior. You may also notice that your intuition feels quiet around him, not silent but calm. There is no internal warning, no sense of impending disappointment, no need to prepare for impact. Your intuition does not shout when alignment is present. It relaxes. This is why recognition may feel understated at first. But do not mistake calm for lack of depth. Depth does not always roar. Sometimes it anchors. And this connection anchors you. Before we move forward, I want you to reflect honestly. Have you ever experienced a connection that felt exciting, but unstable and confused that feeling with depth? And if so, do you now feel yourself craving calm clarity and emotional presence instead? Comment if this insight resonates with you. Because recognizing this shift within yourself is how you prepare to receive what is already aligning with you. Now let's talk about the one thing that could interfere with this connection, not from the outside, but from within, and how to recognize it before it creates distance where none needs to exist. Section 4. The one thing that can interfere self-sabotage. There is one moment in every meaningful connection where the real test does not come from the other person. It comes from within. And if you understand this moment when it appears, you will recognize it not as danger, but as a doorway. When this man enters your life and the connection begins to stabilize, something unexpected may happen. Fear may surface. Not fear of him, but fear of what it means to let something real continue. This fear does not arrive loudly, it arrives disguised as logic. You may find yourself noticing small imperfections and magnifying them. You may begin questioning whether the connection is right, even though nothing is wrong. You may feel the urge to pull back, slow down, or create emotional distance. This is not intuition. This is memory. Here is an important life lesson Leo learns only after experience. The mind protects based on the past, not on present reality. If you have been disappointed before, your mind learned to associate closeness with loss. If you have been abandoned, it learned to associate calm with danger. If you have been misunderstood, it learned to stay guarded even when safety appears. So when something stable enters your life, your system may not recognize it immediately as good. It recognizes it as unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel threatening. This is where self-sabotage begins. Not because you want to ruin the connection, but because a part of you is trying to prevent future pain. You might test him. You might withdraw slightly to see if he notices. You might become less expressive to see if he stays. You might look for reasons to convince yourself that it will not last. These behaviors are not flaws. They are protective strategies that once kept you safe. But here is the next life lesson. What protected you in the past can limit you in the present. This is why awareness matters. The moment you feel the urge to pull away, ask yourself a different question. Is there actual evidence that something is wrong, or is my nervous system reacting to the possibility of being hurt again? This pause changes everything, because self-sabotage thrives on speed. Awareness slows it down. Another pattern to watch for is emotional distancing disguised as strength. You may tell yourself that you do not need anyone, that you are better off alone, that staying independent feels safer. And while independence is healthy, avoidance is not the same thing. Here is a deeper truth many people avoid. Strength does not mean never needing support. Strength means choosing connection without losing yourself. This man is not asking you to give up your independence. He is not asking you to shrink or soften who you are. He is asking you simply by being present to allow closeness without armor. And armor feels heavy when it is no longer necessary. This is where choice enters. You can choose to remain protected, or you can choose to remain open. Remaining open does not guarantee perfection. It guarantees experience. And experience is how real connection forms. Another sign of self-sabotage is overanalysis. You may replay conversations, question tone, search for hidden meanings where none exist. But remember this, clarity does not require interpretation, confusion does. If his actions are consistent, if his presence is steady, if communication is clear, then analysis is unnecessary. Trust is built by observing patterns, not by dissecting moments. This is also where patience becomes essential. Not patience with him, but patience with yourself. You are learning a new way of relating, a way that does not involve bracing for loss. That transition can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not danger. It is growth. The goal here is not to silence fear. Fear will arise naturally. The goal is to not let fear make decisions. When fear appears, acknowledge it. Do not obey it. Here is the final life lesson in this section. The difference between a temporary connection and a lasting one is the ability to stay present when fear appears without acting from it. This man will not disappear because you feel afraid, but the connection can weaken if fear dictates behavior. And you are capable of more than that now. Before we move forward, take a moment to reflect honestly. Have you ever pulled away from something promising, not because it felt wrong, but because it felt too real? Comment if this insight resonates with you, because recognizing this pattern is what allows you to move beyond it. Now, let's talk about what you must do differently this time. Not by changing who you are, but by choosing how you remain present when something real begins to unfold. Section 5. What you must do differently this time. If this connection is going to unfold in the way it is meant to, there is one essential shift that must happen, and it has nothing to do with changing who you are. It has everything to do with how you remain present. In the past, when something mattered, effort often followed fear. You tried harder. You adjusted more. You gave the benefit of the doubt, even when your intuition felt uneasy. That chapter is complete. This time, the work is not in doing more, it is in doing less. Less explaining, less anticipating, less trying to manage outcomes. Here is one of the most important life lessons Leo learns at this stage. What is aligned does not need to be chased, tested, or controlled. The man being guided into your life does not need pursuit to stay engaged. He does not need reminders of your value. and he does not need pressure to remain consistent. Your role now is not to impress, it is to remain rooted, rooted in your boundaries, rooted in your truth, rooted in your pace. This means allowing the connection to develop without forcing intensity too quickly. Not because intensity is wrong, but because depth is revealed through time. Here is another essential life truth. Rushing intimacy often masks fear of losing opportunity. Letting intimacy unfold reveals trust in alignment. You are no longer operating from scarcity. You are operating from self-respect. This also means resisting the urge to overgive. You do not need to prove you are worthy of staying. You do not need to earn consistency. You do not need to offer more than is being reciprocated. Balanced exchange is not withholding, it is clarity. Another shift you must allow is receiving without guilt. You may be accustomed to being the strong one, the supporter, the emotional anchor. And while generosity is part of who you are, this connection invites something new. Reciprocity. Let him show up. Let him offer support. Let him invest. Receiving does not make you dependent. It makes the connection mutual. Here is a deeper lesson many people struggle to accept. Allowing someone to care for you does not weaken your independence. It confirms your worth. You are not losing control by allowing closeness. You are exercising discernment. Another important shift is staying present when things feel calm. Calm does not mean stagnation. Calm means stability. You may notice moments where the relationship feels steady, predictable, even quiet. Do not sabotage those moments by searching for stimulation. Depth does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it reveals itself through continuity, consistency, reliability, emotional presence. This is where maturity expresses itself. You also must allow space for imperfection. Not red flags, but humanity. He will have limits. You will have moments of doubt. Misunderstandings may arise. What matters is not the absence of friction, but the willingness to remain engaged when it appears. Here is another core life lesson. Longevity is built by people who stay curious instead of defensive. Stay curious about how this connection can evolve. Stay open to communication instead of assumption. Stay grounded instead of reactive. And finally, you must release the need to know exactly where this is going. Certainty does not come from controlling the future. It comes from trusting your present awareness. You do not need guarantees. You need alignment. And alignment reveals itself step by step. If this connection is meant to stay, it will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. It will grow because both of you choose it consistently, consciously, without force. Before we move into the closing of this message, take a moment to reflect. Are you willing to remain open without chasing present, without controlling, and grounded without withdrawing when something real begins to unfold? Comment if this feels like the lesson you are stepping into now. Because this willingness, not effort, not perfection, is what allows something meaningful to finally take root. Now let's bring everything together and talk about what this moment truly represents in your life as you step into the next chapter of your story. Conclusion: what this moment means for you. At this point, it is important to understand what is truly happening in your life right now. This is not just about a man entering your world, and it is not just about a relationship finally working. It is about a transition from surviving connection to consciously choosing it. For a long time, love felt like something you had to navigate carefully, protecting yourself, staying alert, remaining prepared for disappointment. That vigilance served you once, but it is no longer required. What is arriving now is not meant to test your strength. It is meant to meet it. The man being guided into your life is not here to complete you, rescue you, or define you. You were never incomplete. He is here to stand beside you, not in front of you, not behind you, but alongside you. This distinction matters because love that lasts is not built on imbalance. It is built on mutual presence. And presence is what you are ready for now. You may still have moments of doubt. You may still feel traces of old fear surface unexpectedly. That does not mean you are regressing. It means you are human. What matters is that fear no longer controls your decisions. It no longer dictates who you allow close. And it no longer convinces you to abandon yourself for connection. That is growth. This connection, when it unfolds, will not be perfect. There will be misunderstandings. There will be moments of discomfort. But there will also be something you may not have experienced before. Stability without stagnation. Depth without drama. Passion without insecurity. And you will recognize that this is why everything else had to fall away. Not because you were too demanding, not because you expected too much, but because you were preparing for something that required you to be exactly who you are now. Here is the final life lesson to carry forward. Love that stays is not found by searching harder. It is found by becoming clearer. Clear about your boundaries, clear about your needs, clear about your worth. You no longer negotiate your presence. You no longer convince people to choose you. You allow alignment to reveal itself. And when this man arrives fully into your life, you will not need to question whether he belongs there. You will know, not through excitement alone, but through peace. Through the feeling that you no longer have to brace yourself for loss. Through the sense that you can exhale instead of remain on guard. Through the quiet understanding that something solid has taken root. This is not a fantasy. It is a reflection of the inner work you have already done. And if you ever find yourself wondering why this connection feels different, remember this: you are different now. You are more grounded, more discerning, more present. And that is why what enters your life now has the capacity to remain. Before we close, take the moment and reflect honestly. Do you feel that this message arrived during a time when you are no longer chasing love, but are finally ready to receive it without losing yourself? Comment if this message found you at the right moment. And if you choose to stay connected here, know this: when this connection begins to deepen, when questions arise, when uncertainty appears, you will not be navigating it alone. Subscribe to the channel and stay close. Not for predictions, but for grounded guidance, clarity, and perspective as this next chapter of your life unfolds. Because what is being guided toward you now is not meant to pass through. It is meant to stay. And this time you are ready.